After calling for a pause, a former cabinet minister says now is the time to implement NHI. This as Duane Sands questions where is NHI legislation. It's just a few months away, but the Festival Commission reportedly has yet to meet on Junkanoo Carnival 2016. Plus, we take a look at the many questions that weren't answered in 2015. We've got those stories and more tonight. I'm Kyle Joaquin, and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, former PLP Cabinet Minister George Smith was opposed to moving forward with national health insurance just a few weeks ago, but now says he supports it, and Bahamians shouldn't be distracted by the way the government is handling the rollout, but rather focus on what the government is trying to do for the country. Simone Davis has the story.
Smith said he believes that people are getting too caught up in the method of NHI and forgetting about its objective, which is to improve the healthcare standard in the Bahamas.
Now, we could hassle over how to do it. We could hassle over when certain catastrophic injuries could be provided for, whether they will be provided by local doctors, whether they will be provided by public doctors, or whether they will be provided by doctors in the private sector, or even doctors beyond the borders of the Bahamas. Those are things we could talk about.
However, just 3 weeks earlier, the former PLP MP said he had serious reservations about the government's NHI scheme and called for a pause before NHI is introduced. Earlier this month, he stated that he is a firm and resolute supporter of NHI, but did not think the government was ready to roll out the first phase of implementation, registration, set for January 18th. But today, Smith said he believes that Prime Minister Christie and his administration should be commended for bringing NHI close to implementation.
But the objective must be something that all Bahamians should agree on. And I think the Prime Minister should be commended, for he, above anyone else, has pushed this matter to the point where it looks like it is going to happen, and it will commence next year. And when I, like others, I always prefer to slow down sometimes, think it out a little more, and then pursue it.
When asked if he still thinks there's a need for a pause or delay before the registration phase of NHI begins next month, Smith suggested that it'll be ready to roll out on time, but people should not expect it to be a smooth sailing.
We would have been rather foolish to believe that we're going to wake up on January the 1st and suddenly the health care provision for our people has risen highly, and we have an institution called National Health Insurance Authority, and it is functioning. Of course, there's a period, and it isn't going to happen quickly.
Smith said he thinks that many people are speaking about NHI in a negative tone because of what he calls the ugly idea of fear that is spreading throughout the Bahamian community.
We like to raise the ugly flag of fear whenever we don't want something or it isn't my idea. It doesn't matter to me, and it shouldn't matter to any Bahamian whose idea it was. It's a good idea, it's a noble objective, and all people who claim to love this country and to love the Bahamian people must certainly want us to be.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
Well, with national health insurance registration set to begin next month, Prime Minister Perry Christie says government will either move to amend the current National Health Insurance Act, which was never brought into force, or bring a new NHI bill to Parliament within the next 3 months. But noted surgeon and former F&M Deputy Chairman Dr. Duane Sands is questioning the legality of the NHI process, given there is no legislation.
The Prime Minister commits the people of the Bahamas, the National Insurance Board, the physicians, the insurance companies, to a process that may not have any basis in law.
Sands called the delay in legislation unfortunate but typical of the type of governance that this Christie administration has shown thus far. He said come January 2016, it seems Bahamians will be walking down a road governed by fiat and not by law.
We should seek to have this legislation in place and follow it accordingly. But here we are. Come January 16th, I understand, is the kickoff date for registration. The people of the Bahamas are going to walk down a road that is guided by fiat, by personal feelings, and not by the law.
The Prime Minister told reporters yesterday government is trying to determine whether to amend the existing bill or create an entirely new one within the next 3 months. But Sands, who has been critical of government's implementation strategy thus far, said if NHI is really so important to this administration, Christie and his cabinet should spend their holiday drafting the legislation so that something can be presented by the registration period.
This is clearly something that is so important, that has the ability to transform the lives of Bahamians. Let's get this thing right. Let's do it properly. You know, if this was so important, why didn't the government of the Bahamas spend the time to get the legislation identified, vetted, drafted, discussed, and passed in the House? What Mr. Christie and his cabinet can do is to suspend their Christmas holidays, to work overtime on behalf of the Bahamian people, draft the legislation, get it right, so that at least they have a draft bill to present come January 2016.
Christie had said his lawyers will determine which option is more feasible, adding that given the plan is being implemented in phases and the first 3 months is registration, that's the time government is going to move to put everything in place, and everything that has to be done will be done in the first phase. Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
Assistant Commissioner of Police Stephen Dean says police still have no motive or leads into the murder of 43-year-old volleyball coach Duane Sands. His body was found on the floor of his St. Albans Drive apartment yesterday afternoon. At the moment, police say this is a wide open case and they're appealing to members of the public with any information that can lead them in some sort of direction to contact them at 919 or Crime Stoppers anonymously at 328-TIPS. Smith was a past president of the New Providence Volleyball Association and head coach of the Bahamas' senior men's national volleyball team. His murder was the 143rd for the year. Chairman of the National Festival Commission, Paul Major, has confirmed to NB12 that the commission has not yet had its first meeting to plan for Junkanoo Carnival 2016. The festival is set to take place May 5th through the 7th. Our news team also understands that the commission hasn't received its charge from the government either to officially begin preparations for the cultural event. Planning and timing was said to have been a major downfall for the inaugural Junkanoo Carnival last May, and now that it's 6 months away, President of the Band Owners Association, Dario Torelli, said it appears as though the same thing will happen for next year's carnival. But the mass bands, he said, aren't going to just wait around.
It's a government bureaucracy. I'll never defend any government that's late in giving details and information to the public. I don't know why they're late. If they're late, they might not consider themselves to be late. But we consider that we should already start this progress together with the government and their agency from August, September.
We already had 2 events, and costuming is in production. Prototypes are being done because, like Mr. Torelli said, we're having our combined launch, which was announced by the Commission January 16, 2016. So costuming need to be ready for the launch.
One of the biggest controversies to interrupt planning for Junkanoo Carnival was the decision on who would headline the main concert during the event. You may recall plans to bring in Janet Jackson fell through, but a decision was later made on Trinidadian Machel Montano. Government had also initially projected to attract thousands of tourists for the event. However, as the date grew closer, focus shifted to attracting more locals. That event went $4 million over budget. Last year, Carnival mass bands were given monetary injections by the government. Torelli said he's sure all the bands would welcome them once again, but timing, he said, is key to ensure the same mistakes aren't made a second year in a row.
We're asking for a moratorium, 5 years moratorium. We are asking for assistance once again, whether it's giving us duty concession to bring in raw material. Most of the raw material we don't produce in the Bahamas, and so we need that again. Of course, any business model is 3 to 5 years and you will reap success. Now, we are not begging the government. We're not in the business of begging government. We are businessmen for income. However, if they can help us with subsidy again, we all welcome that. If not, we are not waiting.
Despite that, though, marketing has already begun for next year's Junkanoo Carnival. Torelli said Carnival bands spent tens of thousands of dollars, and while he knows they won't see a major profit until the next 4 years or so, they want to be sure that Junkanoo Carnival is given the opportunity to reach its maximum potential.
With Roscoe and his team and Paul's team, I think they're working internationally to make sure that we have that audience that will spend a little more, that will come in and put heads in bed. And so we'll be working close with them in international marketing too. They give us the okay and the satisfaction that we'll combine our marketing forces, whether it's local or international, and so we can make this one even better.
When NB12 returns, we take a look at the many questions we got no answer to in 2015. Stay tuned.